Hey guys, my name's Alan, and I am a male INFJ. Um, I have been thinking about making a video about this subject for quite a while now. Um, it's something, well, first of all, I'm really interested in the Myers-Briggs type indicator, and over the past 3 or 4 years, I've really done a lot of research into it and see what it's all about. I I've heard and I've read that allegedly, INFJs are supposed to be the rarest types. I don't know if that's necessarily true or not, but that's what they say, and males even more so. Um, which, from my own experience, kind of makes a lot of sense. From the people I've engaged with and met, who have thought maybe INFJ, it's mainly percentage-wise, it's been mostly women who have kind of picked up that they might be INFJ. Either that or the guys who are also INFJ are just really good at hiding it, like quite like I am at times. Um, or I'm hard to pick up that I am an INFJ. Well, that's what I think. It's maybe different from the outside. People perceiving it, they probably think I am. Um, but I got into the MBTI at a stage of my life when I was trying to figure out who I was and just try to find my way in life and like we all do, try to see where I fit in the world. And I found it to be very helpful and really insightful into myself. It's like almost like a mirror, putting a mirror up to yourself psychologically, and seeing the inner workings and processes of yourself. Um, when I did the test, it wasn't the official test; it was just one of these ones you do online. You probably did yourself. um, I came out obviously first I came out introvert, but on the percentage scale, I came out as 11%. So it's mild. I'm mildly introverted. I'm not like as strong as some other people that I know. Um, I know some people who are more like up in the 50s, 50% and stuff. So I'm quite mild that way. Um, well, according to the test, I might be in reality more introverted than that, because it's not foolproof, especially the cheap ones online or the free ones. Um, Also intuitive, like IN, well, I introvert N, intuitive. I came out really high on that. I had 75%, which makes a lot of sense. Um, I'll get into that later on when we start talking in depth about it. But the feeling aspects, which the INF came out as 38%, um, which sounds about right. From my own perspective, I think that maybe I'm not that high on the feeling as 38%. Thinking more along the lines of 15% or something, but 38% is what came out. And finally, judging, um, I came out as 56%, which, yeah, that's probably right as well. Um, but I'll get more into that as I go through it. Um, so, for those who don't know anything about the Myers Briggs, it's a psychological assessment. And when you're given your code for when you do the test and you're given your code, I am at like mine's is INFJ. Um, you'll that will come out based on psychological processes, and those will fall within the limits of your dominant, um, your secondary. I think it's secondary, not auxiliary. Sorry, and tertiary, which is the third. So dominant, auxiliary, tertiary, and let's see here, inferior. Yes, that's it, inferior. So mine's with INFJ, the dominant psychological process. I think that's a term, the right term, technical term for this. It might be wrong. Um, is introverted intuition, NI, um, and excuse me. So I've written out some stuff here. NI synthesizes various pieces of knowledge together in order to create previously unimagined solutions to complex problems. It draws information together in order to capture its essence, and that's the key thing here. It's like it pulls data, it pulls information, it pulls experience in the way into a central point, and then it gives you it captures its essence. It captures that central thing that makes it what it is, that thing what it is, and then you work from there. Um, it's kind of like using inductive logic, but without going through the steps to reach the conclusion. Or if you are using logic, you'll have a sense of which answers are most probable, and that you're usually right for some reason. So you just have this innate knowing. Um, so in other words, you use logic in a like in an everyday sense when you're presented with problems. But as you use the logic, you're also, well, that might be introverted thinking work as well, which we'll get to. But the introverted intuition comes behind that and gives you a sense of rightness, a sense of right or wrong. Um, you could say it's a feeling, but it's more than that. More than that, it's just um, you just know, which is a bit cliche and a bit frustrating when you try to explain it. But it is a knowing. Um, an example of inductive logic. Um, so, like I say, it's like inductive logic without going through the methodical steps to get there. Um, an example of inductive logic would be that you go to your friend's house and you notice that all the lights are out and their car's not in the drive, and therefore you conclude that it's highly probable that they're out. Um, so if you imagine that process of coming to that conclusion without the awareness of what you're thinking about, so you don't do it, you're not consciously going through that process of coming to that conclusion as you experience it, but it's going on in the background, in the well, not the subconscious, but it's there. It might be the subconscious, but it's going on there at a deeper level rather than up here. And so you come to the conclusion through a sense of just knowing. And like I say, it's not a feeling; it's just a knowing. Um, that's kind of my experience of it. Um, most of the time, also, I'm not even aware. Like I said before, I'm not even aware that I'm using introverted intuition. It just works in the background and leads me like a person would lead a dog on a leash. Um, it knows where it's wanting to go. It has its own thing. It does its own thing, and I'm just there along for the ride, just holding on, and he's pulling me or she's pulling me, as like a dog would do. We're just as it's kind of a like it's a very spontaneous. Well, I feel for me that the process is a very spontaneous process. It just goes where it wants, and you follow along. Um, it takes you to some interesting places. Um, Also, they say that like introverted intuition, and this has also been my experience, is that it allows me. I feel it allows me to have a more intimate relationship with the workings of my own subconscious. Now, my subconscious mind, sorry. Um, and because of this, my everyday life takes on a sort of dreamlike quality. Um, Now, it's I've read and I've heard other IFJs on YouTube saying this as well. That they find that there's less a distinction between their ordinary waking state and their experience of sleep. Now, I'm not a morning person, okay? I am not a morning person, and when I do wake up, it's very begrudgingly, and it's like I never really truly feel like I've woken up. So say I get up at 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 a.m., I won't really feel maybe 90% awake until midday, 12 a.m. ish. And it's because of that, I find it really hard to get out of bed in the morning. Now, I know that I need to get up. Logically, I know I've got things to do, but at a physiological, psychological level, it is just so hard. Um, and because of it, I'm late quite often, which doesn't really make sense if you're a J, but you think that's more a perceiving thing. A person who's more of a perceiver has problems with timekeeping, whereas the J's are supposed to be more, you know, whatever, more in touch with timekeeping rules. But because of the introverted intuition, it can kind of keep you sucked into that, you know, dreamlike quality place of, you know, uh, that murky swamp of intangibility, and you're just there and you're in it so much that it's hard to pull yourself out of it. Um, Introverted intuition. This all ties in with the the dreamlike quality. Is that qualities? Is that it's a really good function to have if you're lazy, um, because it allows you to arrive at important answers, personal answers, or whatever, any kind of important answer really quickly, because you don't have to go through that chain of logic necessarily. A, 1 plus 2 equals 3. Um, like I say, it's like a background process that goes on. So because of that, um, it's good if you're lazy and you don't have a lot of energy as a person. You're not a person who's highly energetic, because um, you're getting your information, you're getting your data from the world around you at a subconscious level, and you're not really, well, maybe it does tire you out because it's going on, still going on at subconscious level, and you're like, I'm not aware of it as much as I would be if it was more focused and conscious. But my own experience is that if I'm purposefully sitting down and go through a chain of reasoning to come to a conclusion, like you would do in maths, or um, so it's going on up here, a purposeful level in your mind, that drains me. Excuse me, that drains me. But when introverted intuition is working, when I feel it's working, I get answers and they're usually right, but there's not that same fatigue that comes from purely taxing the brain up here. But the answers usually always right 90% of the time. So it's good if you're lazy. um, it also makes me feel bored easily. Now, this might be a general intuition thing, people who are intuitive, because you get introverted intuition and extroverted intuition. But I'll get like an inspirational or a spontaneous desire to study something, um, and then I'll study it for maybe 3 or 4 days really intensely, and then it'll just fade away and I'll lose interest. Um, Once the inspiration dies down, and it's kind of like after those 4 days, that same content, which was so inspiring and so interesting to read about, loses its hold over me. It doesn't have the same effect. It's still the same stuff. It's the same interesting material, but there's no. I'm not invested in it. The inspiration's not there to like invest myself in it, and that's a big thing for me, is to feel inspired and passionate about what I'm getting into, even if it's an purely intellectual thing. Um, and also, this might be an introversion thing. I'm not sure if it's an introversion thing or if it's an intuition thing. But if I'm forced as a person to come up with insights um, within a specific amount of time, like say come up with an example or a metaphor right now as I'm speaking, the insight won't be as deep and it won't be as good or as powerful as it would be if I did ride them just naturally through um, circumstantial inspiration, when I'm not focused not on getting the inspiration or finding that nugget of wisdom, but rather it just comes when I'm doing things. I get it a lot when I'm driving the car. and the mind kind of switches off, but the intuition starts kicking in, and you start getting things.